passes.
Okay, good evening, Hayden, Idaho. I'm calling to order our regular city council meeting. It is Tuesday, April 28th, 2026. It is 5:03 p.m. May we get a roll call of council members, please?
Council President DePriest.
Here.
Councilmember Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Roeder.
Here.
And Councilmember Schaefer is absent. We do have a quorum.
Okay, would you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the only addition or correction that I'm going to put on the agenda is we're going to move our law enforcement report to follow the consent calendar. So with that in mind, we'll move on to consent, which consists of approving the April 7th, 2026 special city council meeting minutes, approving April 14th, 2026 city council meeting minutes, approving Walsh Comer and Associates engineering services agreement to review legal descriptions, approving the right-of-way purchase from Richard and Trish Agaros for Hayden Atlas Roundabout Project, approving 2026 Richie's Doghouse Park Concessions Permit Application Agreement, approving pickleball lessons contractual agreement, services agreement with Tom Darzes, approving safe built on-call building plan review and/or inspection contract, approving contract renewal with Western States CAT for generator maintenance, approving of independent contractor agreement with Access Unlimited for Honeysuckle Boat Launch, and approval of bills for payment. Does council have any questions?
I had a question on one of the bills. Talks about there's a settlement statement for it's 8928 North Ramsey Road, the Honeysuckle and Ramsey. I imagine that is just
Yeah, so the city
property
is,
acquisition.
Yep, the city's going through land acquisition. You've approved the purchase sale agreement.
Yeah.
And in order to get that process approved by council so we can close, we decided to put it on here ahead of the closing so that we are hopefully going to close before the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I motion that we approve the consent calendar A through A through J, excuse me.
Second. A motion and a second. Any questions on the motion or discussion? May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Erickson.
Yes.
Council President DePriest.
Yes.
Councilmember Roeder.
Yes.
Okay, looks like we've approved the consent calendar. With that, Lieutenant Sifford, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. I've scrubbed your stats here and I'm ready for any questions you may have, but everything looks pretty much on par as what we're used to seeing. One thing of note here, you'll see a rape on there and that's not quite, what's that?
I'm sorry, that was my question I was going to have.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's how it was labeled. It was more of upon investigation, it was more of an infidelity issue. And so there's no rapes to be concerned of at this time.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Everybody was of legal age,
What's that?
and with the infidelity, no minors involved? Sorry?
Can't ask any questions about the actual investigation.
All right.
I do have a question, if I may. We've paid for 5 sheriff deputy vehicles, is my understanding. And my question is, the 5 deputies that are assigned to Hayden, do they use the cars that we purchase, or are those cars used elsewhere?
They use the cars that you purchased.
Okay, so we would see those cars in the city of Hayden.
Councilman, we've gone in depth about this, and I don't know that now is the venue, but yes, any sheriff's office cars you see are the sheriff's office, and you're not going to be able to know if they're your assigned deputy or not, because they all say Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. So specifically what ones you're seeing, I don't know what you're referring to, but your assigned Hayden deputies are using your Hayden cars.
Okay, that's all I want to know, thank you.
Okay.
I have a dumb question that you don't have to answer on the spot here. And I apologize because I haven't talked to Lisa about this. It just popped in my head. Does the city or the sheriff's office have any leverage for compelling businesses that generate a lot of business for you to handle or hire their own security?
It's probably a legal question. I'll refer to her.
So I just thrown it out there for maybe later discussion before I forget, because at my age, I'll forget
I will
things.
tell you from the sheriff's office standpoint, out in the county, if there's places we commonly go to, we try to set up a system where, for example, if there's a lot of thefts, we try to set up our community service officers to go out there once or twice a week, pick up all the video, pick up all the statements, so that we're not continually camping out there
Right.
and out in the community, so that we can do pretty strategic stuff like that. But other than that, I will have you refer to.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as we enter budget season,
Yeah.
the price goes up every year, and is there a way to more effectively employ our contracted law enforcement folks? But thank you.
You bet. Anything else?
Anything else?
For that rape incident, does that get downgraded once all the facts have come in, or will that, for now,
It will
show
stay like
that in
just 'cause That's how it was
2020.
initially reported.
Got it.
But through the investigation, it gets downgraded and.
got it? Yeah, because my hope is that, when we look at previous years, like it shows 2023 had 2, but 24, 25, 0, 0. It'd be nice if we could get that correct, so it says
Right.
0
to show
year to
it's
date
in
for
accordance
20.
with what it actually was.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
question.
Well, from a layperson's perspective, if it ends up not being as it's initially reported, I think council's more concerned with and the citizens, what's the actual crime, not necessarily what's reported.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, unless council disagrees, you can mark that to 0 if and when it is no longer.
Yeah, and that's what I'm able to assure you now. There's 0 rape involved. It was just other circumstances, and so nothing to be concerned about.
Okay, I just didn't want us to get wrapped around the axle on what you guys think goes on the report. We're just looking for a layman's,
Yeah.
what really is going on in the city. All right, well, thank you.
You bet.
Safe
Thank
travels tonight. All right, with that, we'll move into public comment. We have one. Okay. Is it Gina Rogers is here? Gina, I have a script that I normally follow. I'm not going to read the whole thing tonight, so I'm just going to ask you, as you go through this process, it's not a conversation, so you're just going to give some public testimony. It's 3 minutes, and I'm sure it'll be meaningful. So come on up, state your name, and if you live, it looks like you live in Rathdrum, so you could just say you're a resident of Rathdrum,
Okay.
and then we'll start the clock.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak here. My name is Gina Rogers. I do live in Rathdrum, Idaho, but I'm a small business owner here in Hayden for the last 3 years. And I did just want to address, I do believe that a couple weeks ago at the other city council meeting that Kratom was brought up for some possible regulation in the future. As a business owner, one of the products I do sell is Kratom, and we've been self-regulating for the 9 years that we've been open. But we would love to see some official regulation in the city, because there's a lot of products, unfortunately, out there that are being sold in gas stations that are not Kratom. They're synthetic or chemically adulterated products, and we would like to see those get banned, and then some regulation on plain leaf Kratom, things like labeling requirements, age restrictions, things like that. I do believe that there is a federal ban on these synthetic products that should be coming down the pipeline. I'm hearing this week, but we've heard that a couple times. So hopefully that will actually happen, because I think once we get rid of these chemically adulterated products, it will make for a lot safer situation for the city. And I know that that wasn't necessarily being discussed tonight for regulation, but as something that might be discussed in the future, just wanted to stop in here and just let you know that I absolutely support regulation. And I did bring a few things, if I can give them to you. It's just a few little printouts that I kind of went through and put together. One is like a sample ordinance of what like a city or county ordinance would look like for regulation. You could essentially take all of this or just pick parts of it that are easy.
Gina, do you do business with Laura?
Laura Romney.
Because
know her.
she completely
She's
thoroughly sent us information today.
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah, she's, I think, the president of like the Plant and Herbal Alliance.
She might.
Super knowledgeable. She has a huge presentation that really goes into the detail of Kratom versus these synthetic products, and tons more information on there. But yeah, is it okay if I bring these to you guys?
Sure.
Okay. And I put my card in here too.
Great, thank
If you
you.
have any questions, I am happy to answer any questions regarding these products, synthetic products and things like that.
Thank you.
And again, there's not a ton in there. I didn't want to totally overwhelm you guys with more information than you probably are looking for right now, but would definitely, like I said, love to see some just responsible regulation for the city.
Okay. Thank you, Gina.
All right, thank you so much.
Safe travels home.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is commission reports. Council has received quarterly reports, and I guess the only business we have is, are there any questions or comments supporting them?
No.
Okay, we're hearing none. All right, we're going to move on then to our public hearing for action item PZE 250080, Sycamore Valley subdivision preliminary plat request located at the northwest corner of North Maple Street and East Miles Avenue.
Will you read your procedures?
Yes. And before you start, I'll read some procedures just for the benefit of the public. That's the wrong one. All right, so for the public, staff is going to introduce the case, then the applicant will present, and then staff will present, and then we'll open up a public comment, and that is comments to council, not to the applicant. The applicant will be then given the chance to offer a rebuttal if they choose to, but not add any new information. Then we'll close the public hearing, then council will deliberate and potentially reach a decision. So that's the process for this agenda item, and with that, Ms. Donna?
Hi. So tonight, we're here to look at the Sycamore Valley subdivision preliminary plat request. Generally speaking, subdivisions go through a preliminary plat public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then a public meeting with City Council. But there was a variety of additional comments and a lot of deliberation and good comments from the public, and it made it very quickly clear that a second public hearing should be held before the City Council so that you could have the ability to ask questions of both the public and the applicant. So some background on the request: the owner, the applicant, the engineer of record. So the applicant and the engineer of record are Olson Engineering, and they're in the back here tonight. And the owner is Colco Land LLC, and they're in the back. And Jeremy Trezulli is in the corner. He'll be presenting on behalf of the applicants and the engineer. They might all jump in at some point, but he'll be leading. And the request tonight is for a 37-lot subdivision on 2 lots that total about 13 acres in size. And the proposal is to access those from North Maple Street and East Miles Avenue. So 2 lots, the one on the corner, and then an adjacent one that was done with a boundary line adjustment around that 385 piece of property. Okay? At the conclusion of the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, and after their deliberations in the middle of March, the P&Z deliberated and the commission recommended approval with staff recommended conditions as amended. They added 2 additional conditions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the applicant and they can present. Go for it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. For the record, my name is Jeremy Trezulli. I'm a land use consultant here in North Idaho. working in collaboration with Olson Engineering tonight. Steve Soltis is present. He will be the engineer of record for Olson. My client, Ryan Stoker of Colca Land, is here as well. I know he's going to want to introduce himself at the end of this and see if you have any questions for him. But with that, we'll just jump in. A lot of this is going to be a rehash from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So first and foremost, for the benefit of the public, a lot of times it seems like we're just blazing through a lot of these standards of approval. And that is because multiple meetings have happened at the staff level. We've had our meeting with planning and zoning. And in essence, we've been at this for about 2 years now to get to this point. So we don't bring one here if your city staff, your city engineer, your public works director hasn't already confirmed the availability of infrastructure, working with the water districts, those types of things. So if it seems like I'm moving fast and just glossing over, it's because a lot of these things have all been already dealt with when we got here. First and foremost, we do have a will serve letter from Avondale Irrigation District. They have the willingness to serve this project. They've had some requirements, extensions of water lines, looping of water lines, all of that has been addressed in the preliminary plans. So we have all of that. We know the fire flows will be adequate. What didn't happen in the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, at one point, somehow Northern Lakes got missed in the review period. They have since weighed in on this, and they gave us, in essence, their boilerplate placement of fire hydrants, and those need to be activated prior to any buildings being constructed. So we have now cleaned that up, and we have that. The city has offered us a will serve, and Harbs has the willingness to serve and treat the sewer here. Again, through those back-end meetings, an extension of a sewer line to pick up Dana Court, which is currently on septic systems. They have dry lines at Dana Court, so if those septics ever fail, they'll be able to tie into municipal sewer, so that's been addressed. And as far as any dry utilities, natural gas, power, data, that's all in the area, and typically how this works is once we get an approved set of plans, if we get an approved set of plans, the engineer and the developer will coordinate with those utilities, and when we have open trenches, we have them come put their gear in the ground, so it's all cohesive. Regarding streets, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, so I got distracted. So with regard to the streets, once again, the city engineer reviews our plan set. We typically will take a plan set to about 60 to 70%. So they're pretty well along before we get to this point. Gives the city engineer and the public works director a chance to look at those streets, make sure they're in conformance with city code, make sure that the road classification is correct, make sure any rights of way will be acquired if those streets need to be extended. Swales, snow storage, all that's going to happen in street side swales out here. We don't have any dead ends or any cul-de-sacs. We don't have any fire truck hammerhead turnarounds. Everything loops around, as you could probably see, and then I have some slides where that's a little bit more obvious as we move forward. Every lot has ample frontage for the underlying zoning. Again, the right-of-way dedication along Miles and Maple, mailbox locations have been accounted for. This slide right here shows that we've reserved 2 areas. That will typically fall on the postmaster. They'll let us know where they want those mailboxes. Might only want one of these locations, might want both, but we have accounted for those. And then if you look at the little red oval there, that's sort of a blow up. That blow up shows right out of your city standards what the street will look like. So you know the storage goes in the street side swale. We've got sidewalk inside of the right of way, and then actually 10 feet inside of each property line, there's a utility easement for all those dry utilities that we talked about. It's a very standard subdivision. We haven't deviated from the plan. We're not doing anything. We're not reinventing the wheel here. It's the same as you see all around the city. One addition that we made, and I'm adding this in the street section because this does apply to the right-of-way at Miles and Maple. That little yellow area there, we had a lot of discussion at Planning and Zoning about the old farmhouse that's there. People from the historic committee showed up, just some residents showed up, and we've been through that house. It's in very, very rough shape. It cannot really be, moving it is probably going to cause a collapse of that house. Most of the public understood that, but there was, everybody believed it had some sentimental value. So what we did on our end is we came back and we carved out this corner here. And this carve out is very specific. Where it currently sits, it could accommodate a future roundabout if that's ever going to become part of the traffic plan at Maple and Miles. But in the short term and hopefully forever, we thought that this could be a little area here at this very prominent intersection to sort of tell the story of the old farmhouse that was there. Take some of the plants from around the area, maybe put a bench in this area, a little plaque. We could use some of the wood out of the old farmhouse and sort of tell the story of what happened here. So we got together on our end and thought, you know, in feedback from the public, that might be a nice thing to do at this corner. Also design it in a way that if that intersection is ever to be widened, a roundabout put in, that the city would not be responsible for acquiring any rights of way. So we could either dedicate that in a right of way, what's probably more likely because it's going to be some overlap between streets and parks, is probably put it in a tract during the subdivision process and go ahead and deed that to the city. And if you blow up the subdivision, that's how it lays out in aggregate with the whole subdivision, is that corner clip down there. Again, and not that it's an explicit condition of approval, but there was a lot of discussion in P&Z about neighborhood context. And I thought it was maybe not real well informed. And so I took an overlay of our proposal right on a satellite image of the area. And this, you know, I didn't cover stuff to the west because that moves into the commercial zoning and the higher density development that's Avery Estates. So I kind of snipped it off right here and just showed as you move out a few hundred yards in each direction, the vast majority of the homes out here are of equal size of the lots that are being proposed. In fact, if you look at, you know, take apart a couple of these larger 1, 2, 3 acre parcels here, and down in this area, the vast majority of this area is sitting on, you know, 10 to 12,000 square foot lots, and that's exactly what we're proposing at Sycamore Valley. So just, again, I wanted to kind of clean the record up on that, show this slide, even though it's not a direct condition of approval, but show that it does blend with the neighborhood context fairly well. Regarding city code, minimum lot sizes, we far exceed the minimum lot size in the underlying zoning. I believe our smallest lot is 10,000 square feet, whereas 8,250 is the minimum in the R1. As I showed, consistent with the adjacent neighborhoods, been reviewed by agencies, the city engineer for compliance with all of those codes. The engineer of record, Steve, and Olson Engineering will provide oversight during construction, which is the rule of the city, to ensure that erosion control, all the stormwater stays on the site, make sure that when the infrastructure is handed over to the city that it is in good working order and it will be guaranteed. We didn't have any additional studies requested by any agencies. That's, you know, traffic, that's environmental. None of the people reviewing the proposal felt that it rose to the level to need any additional studies, so we proceeded with that. And impact fees, as you know, will be collected at the time of building permit for impact on traffic and the Parks Department. Speaking of the Parks Department, this proposal was initially intended to go before Planning and Zoning last November. Donna respectfully reached out to me and said, we do, you know, the Parks Master Plan does show a neighborhood park in this quadrant, and that's this fun little shape right here, and that's smack dab on this property. Additionally, though, the Parks Master Plan, and that quote right there is from the master plan, which indicates that through annexations, the city can negotiate parkland. In this area, this is technically what would be considered an infill development. the city, this already exists within the city, and so the city doesn't have the ability to negotiate a parkland like they can up at Hayden Canyon and with some of these other annexations out on the prairie. So the Parks Master Plan does indicate that the city is going to need to purchase parkland if parks are going to be added in this area of town, because the vast majority of it is built out. So, that being said, we entered into discussion with the city about how they would like us to accomplish that goal. And I think this group knows more about where that is at than I do. We offered a couple of options. We did talk about some of the land in this subdivision. We talked about some land in the area. And at that point in time, we kind of handed it over to the city to decide what they wanted to do. So how did we comply with that? You know, as it's directly stated, what provisions have been made for parkland and open space? Well, we provided the opportunity to negotiate with the city for parkland in this subdivision, and ultimately, the city chose to go in a different direction. That's what I know. That's how we believe we're in compliance with that review criteria, and I'll let that be for now. So in summary, the water and sewer are available. Infrastructure can and will be installed in an orderly manner. Any additional requirements, and somehow my slide got cut off, so sorry about that. Additional requirements from any agencies having jurisdiction can be added into the conditions of approval. We'll have a city engineer of record on site during construction. We have the impact fees, and all of the staff recommended conditions of approval have been reviewed, and we are okay with those. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to Ryan Stoker, who is the owner of the property. That way, you guys can ask him any questions, and I will also be standing here for any questions at that time.
Yeah, my name's Ryan Stoker. I live at 224 West Eagle Crest Drive in Coeur d'Alene. I just wanted to make myself available to council and the mayor to ask any questions you would have of the developer.
Council have any questions for Ryan?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd
Sure.
kind of like to ask, and hopefully I can ask it. It seems to me, and I could be wrong, I don't remember going through so many of these things, that there's some discussion about the intersection of Miles and Government Way. And the fact that it's most likely that the people who live in this, will eventually live in this development, will be headed out towards Government Way further up and down. And that's already an extremely congested intersection. Was there any discussion, or would you, I'm believing that I thought I heard that you were willing to participate in the development of that intersection.
What I'd said is I was willing to participate in helping with the roundabout at Miles and Maple. Nobody's
Oh, Miles
approached
and
me.
Maple.
Yeah, nobody's approached me about government and Miles. I mean, I'd be happy to talk to staff and see if there's something we can do to help that, but until it's in a position that's approvable and able to lead to construction, I don't know exactly how I could help. I am an owner in a geotechnical engineering firm that has an office here in Coeur d'Alene, or Hayden, actually. If it were somehow available, I mean, I could pay that company for the services that would be required geotechnically in assisting with the improvement of that would be a relatively easy thing for me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question from Mr. Trezulli, excuse me. I'm looking at the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting minutes from March 15, 2026, page 9 of 12. And under questions from the commission, this is the fourth paragraph from that heading. It says, Mr. Trezulli said that they are open to just about anything. From his understanding, urban renewal funds quote unquote, are going to be the ticket there. if there's something that makes sense for the community and will benefit the development, improve safety and traffic flow, he said that the developer will sit down at any meeting and have a good faith discussion of what that looks like and can assure the commission of that. Number one, can you explain how urban renewal is going to be used in this project?
Not in our project, it was at the intersection, because I actually own property, the southeast corner of Miles and Government Way. And so I know that my property is in the urban renewal district. I know that I've entered into an OPA with urban renewal for improvements along Miles. And so it was my understanding that that intersection was also in the urban renewal district and therefore would be eligible for urban renewal funds.
So how does that benefit this project?
I don't think it does.
Well, I guess my question is, why does it come up in the P and Z meeting concerning this
Because
project?
in the deliberations at P and Z, if you'll look, they started trying to condition that we could not pull a building permit until a signalized intersection was at Miles and Government Way, and we felt that was not supported by the master transportation plan. We didn't feel that that was supported by the data of the trip generation that would be created from this subdivision. But if there was some discussion that needed to be had, I stand by that statement. We've sat down every step of the way with staff with regard to the parks, with regard to the layout, with regard to potential future connectivity. We've operated absolutely in good faith to this point, and I don't see any reason to stop that now.
Okay, I have another question also. On page 10 of 12, the last paragraph of the minutes of the P and Z meeting, same date. I'm going to quote, traffic conditions were mentioned by Vice Chair Morris, but Attorney Nick Peterson advised the commission that there is no legal way of adding this condition into the record. Can somebody explain that? How come your attorney?
No, Nick
Wasn't
was
my
your city
attorney.
attorney. He was
Oh.
filling in for me.
Oh, okay, see, are you Nick? Oh, okay, sorry, he's the backup, my fault. That explains that. Then,
And he was correct.
that's all that matters, good job.
We'll accept that.
I'm looking at the case number PZ, this case, and it's the summary request location, and it's what the public agency comments. And from Kootenai County Sheriff, we have a page here that, it's a second paragraph. It says, currently the sheriff office can provide the city of Hayden a law enforcement ratio of 0.57 deputies, or 10 per 1,000 residents. Well, the current chairman of the Kootenai County Board of County Commissioners, Bruce Matari, he has reduced the number of deputies in a negotiated contract with us. He increased our fee to the city of residents of 25% more, and now we only get 5 deputies. So that affects, he's cut that in half, so we're going from 0.54 deputies per 1,000 to 0.34 deputies. So my concern is that with that change, that was not included in this study. We have 50% less deputies that are dedicated to Hayden. So that's a concern for me, because it's a concern for Brett, this is with Bob Norris and Brett Nelson. And the last paragraph in this response from Kootenai County Sheriff says, also, a final area to consider is the increased congestion with traffic from the development proposed and the surrounding surface streets that will have to handle this additional traffic flow, which could further burden a rapid law enforcement response As you are aware, there are limitations to the response public safety can offer. So there's a concern by our sheriff that this is a safety issue for response time. The original letter had 10 deputies, but now we only have 5. And so safety is a major concern for me.
Is that a,
Is there a question?
I didn't hear a question.
Well, did you consider 5 deputies or did you consider 10?
It's not, okay. All I can do is go off of the agencies and their comment. What I will say is that statement that you read, because I do land use work throughout the county, Bonner County, Boundary County, even down into Nez Perce County. That letter from the sheriff, Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Rathdrum have their own police departments, so we'll rarely receive that comment from the sheriff. Hayden does not. But I do a lot of development in the county, and Spirit Lake was having their little issue there a few years ago. That's kind of a boilerplate letter that we see from them. I did not make an account as to how many deputies are dedicated to Hayden, as I don't think, I didn't know that. That would be insider information that you have as the city council. I don't think that that's broadcast out there for public consumption. I think you could probably find it. It's a matter of public record. However, his comment, the sheriff's department comment seemed rather benign, and it seemed like something I see all the time. Whenever you add another car on the road, regardless of it's from this development or a fitness gym that goes in a couple 100 yards from here, you will create additional congestion, and therefore emergency service vehicles will have to navigate that. I don't think that the sheriff was explicit that this is going to create a problem in this area and we're seriously concerned. I didn't read that in that letter. So I guess perhaps I just have a different perspective than you.
Right, well, do you agree that cutting the number of deputies to Hayden in half is a safety issue?
Well, I mean, it depends on, anytime that you cut deputies in half, response times are going to be longer. I've lived in this community for decades. I don't see Hayden as a high crime area. But yes, whenever you reduce staff, there's, I think it would be completely disingenuous to say that the service provided by that staff, doesn't matter if it's sheriff, fire department, or public works department, that the end result will probably be that projects will take longer and response times will be a little bit longer.
Right, it wasn't our decision to cut our deputies in half, that was forced upon us. And then we got a 25% increase for half as much, so.
Yeah, I mean, and if we're kind of circling this, these are large lots. These are gonna be high-end homes, and anecdotally, higher-end homes tend to, and large neighborhoods that are well-lit around other large neighborhoods usually aren't high drivers of crime. I think what he was circling was maybe the adjacent streets might see a little bit of added congestion, and therefore their response times could be a little bit higher. I personally don't think that that is a massive safety concern. That's me personally, that's an opinion.
Thank you.
All right. David, anything?
Yeah, for the written recommendations that we received, under additional requirements per the Planning and Zoning Commission, point 11, it says, should the city acquire parkland in the near vicinity of the Sycamore Valley subdivision, then connectivity to that property to become parkland shall be required as a condition of this approval in conformance with the Parks Master Plan and Transportation Master Plan. And I know there's a possibility of a park going in on the west side of this development. And in all likelihood, the connection would be in the northwest of this development. How would that be accommodated, given that there's
I don't think I'm
lots
at
there?
liberty to discuss that yet, but there is an undeveloped lot up there. I don't know where the city's negotiation on that parkland is.
Jeremy, for clarification of the record, That land is under contract with the city now, so you are at liberty to talk about ideas or concessions you'd be willing to make for that connectivity.
Thank you very much for that clarification. You bet. We'll go after that.
I've been trying to find how to word that, and I saw this. I was like, aha, I'm gonna read that.
We already have a contact. It would be silly of us to try to acquire that and then have the city's negotiation of that adjacent parkland not come to
Of course.
fruition.
Yeah, so if that comes to fruition, that we buy that land and it turns into a park,
We are going to take a run at that. Otherwise, we could certainly create connectivity down on Miles.
on the south
Create
end.
that frontage improvement all the way to the parkland.
Yeah.
That condition, I don't think I can amend conditions, but it would help us if that condition was amended to say within a certain vicinity. Because if the city decides to get parkland 3/4 of a mile away from here, I think that's an unreasonable ask of the developer to create connectivity.
Right,
I think it should be site-specific.
I think, and with where things are at, that can be adjusted, I imagine.
Okay.
But,
And just so the record's clear, the city was not under contract to purchase that land at the time of the hearing
Right.
in front of planning and zoning. So nobody was at liberty to talk about it at that point. Since that time, the city has come under contract to purchase it, and now you can discuss it. So.
Sorry for all the cloaking.
No, that's fine. To ask for a little more elaboration on the potential of developing the northwest corner, would it be more of like a walking path corridor in between those two lots? Is that the idea?
Well, I think there's a couple options. If,
Microphone.
if the city's able to attain that lot and add it to the park, the connection becomes much easier. If we have to obtain it, we're gonna probably look to try to put a road or some kind of access point to it, because we'd look to sell it like we would any other lot. But what I thought of is, you see that kind of 45 up off, I think it's lot number 5?
Yeah.
We could run that up, coming across to the west on that back property line, and if we could gain an easement from that property, we could then make that connection.
Okay. Thank you.
We've made a lot of consideration for it. It's just a chicken and egg situation.
Right, yeah.
To that point, I guess I would ask council if you guys are considering that as part of the condition that we keep the access to the tentative park off of Miles to separate.
We don't have control of that parcel yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll try.
if I were you, I would obligate us to just provide the connection. If we can provide it up through there, we'd prefer to see it through the subdivision. But if we can't, if, out of anything else, there's gonna be sidewalk there anyway, continuing that sidewalk across it. If we could get the easement across there, or if it already exists, we could make that connection.
What's the relationship like with the landowner right there? Has there been any discussions there? Or?
Oh, he was part of the selling entity, wasn't he?
I mean, we paid him a bunch of money for the back half of the parcel. We've had good relationships with him, and we're gonna do the improvements right along here for the road for him. We've agreed to pay for that.
That landowner owned that whole piece?
He owned the whole piece right back
Oh,
here.
that's
Yeah, and
stretched up
this was
there.
a separate parcel
Got it,
here.
okay.
Okay.
That's all I have at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, a little bit of a traffic jam over there. Okay, so I always do this kind of mad dash through the staff analysis. And so this is pretty much a summary of the staff analysis that has been out on the website since before the public hearing with planning and zoning and is a part of your board book attachments. So there are 8 standards of approval for a subdivision. The first 2 have to do with infrastructure and how it can be constructed and where it's located, and that accommodates ongoing maintenance needs and other infrastructure co-location, and those are evaluated throughout the other standards as well. The third standard talks about, is the infrastructure, can it be built so it's in compliance with all applicable city, state, federal policies and regulations? And then it's broken up into a variety of subcomponents. We did receive a conditional will serve letter from Avondale Irrigation District in October of 2024, and it was updated in March of 2026, identifying that all water utility infrastructure needs to be, as required, needs to abide by city code standards and policies. Sewer requirements, a will serve was provided by the city in September of 2025, and identified the sewer is to be in the H1 sewer basin, and that the residents located at 385 East Miles, that's what Councilmember Erickson was asking about, that it also would need to be connected to city sewer as part of the subdivision requirements in accordance with our boundary line adjustment code. So if you do a boundary line adjustment between 2 parcels in accordance with our code, and if either one of those parcels in the future subdivides, then the parcel that wasn't a part of that subdivision has to have the frontage improvements put in place and has to be connected to city sewer as part of the subdivision requirements of that future development. Stormwater and snow storage requirements, those will be reviewed at the time of construction plan review in accordance with Title 8.
Donna, question before you move on to the next slide. When this was introduced, I thought I heard language that indicated some of the properties on septic, and the way I heard it is it all needs to go onto sewer.
Correct.
Okay, so there's not gonna be any septic if
Nope.
this is approved by council.
Yep.
Thank you.
Provisions have or have not been made for streets. So at the request of the Public Works Department, there are no cul-de-sacs or eyebrows that are proposed. That's just gentle curves in the internal streets of this proposed subdivision. They did recognize that East Pearl to the east, that this would line up with that should this lot ever decide to develop. And they did recognize that there is a large lot to the south, and so that this road connectivity would align so you don't get that offset roads that can sometimes happen. So that's good road connectivity in that location. The roads are being proposed to be built in accordance with our standard typical section, which was very well presented by Mr. Tuzuli with a road, curb, swale, sidewalk, and then a utility easement behind that. The roads also will be widened in accordance to the typical section on Maple and on Miles. And they will also have that same typical section of pavement, curb, swale, sidewalk. Yes?
The road widening is just 1/2 of the road, correct?
Correct.
It's not full
They're
width.
half, correct.
Right.
Donna, looks like at least 3, maybe 4 cul-de-sacs off of Lacey to the north and east. And is that Dana Court to the north? Approximately decade-wise, are those more recent, all build-outs? Like 2010s, 2000s?
These are older than, I've been here 28 years, and these were built before I started here, so.
And then just to the north, those 2?
And this one was built just at the beginning of the 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000s, and Bly Court came in about that same time frame. Should be noted, and I'll talk sooner, but the subdivision code requires that subdivisions build their sewer in accordance with the sewer master plan to and through their subdivision. So there's sewer in Miles, sewer in Maple. They're going to extend sewer up to Dana Court because Dana Court, when it went in, was dry lined in sewer on Dana Court. each of those homes paid for their sewer cap fee at the time of their building permit, but each of those homes are currently on septic systems.
And Donna, just for clarification, the reason why I asked is it looks like there's a slow growth of density happening. In other words, when I look at the map, large, the neighborhood has a character, but to the north and to the northeast, that character is changed. So I'm just curious how new that is, or if it's been like that for the last 30 years.
Been there a long time.
Thank you for clarifying.
So then the property that's in escrow for the city to use as a potential park area is identified here as well. It's about a 2 plus or minus, a little bit over 2 acre between 2 parcels piece of property in this location. Should be also noted, just as a matter of interest, that this park area right here has a public ingress egress over it, so all public can come in and use that park facility with those playgrounds. And so that top lot would have some good connectivity to and through a green space in this location. From a kind of global parks view. So the 6th version of that standard, talking about infrastructure, talks about the parks plans and park amenities. Mr. Trezulli did note that park impact fees shall be collected at the time of building permit issuance. Then there are 3 more standards that talk about erosion control and geohazard stabilization. And those all are reviewed at the time of construction plan, because although land looks really flat, it doesn't always end up really flat. There's always some topography there. Our code requires that all utilities shall be placed underground. It also talks about mailbox locations being located on the internal streets. So to reduce that stop and conflict point between folks on Maple and on Miles, the new mailboxes for those residents within this subdivision would be on the internal street instead of to stop on either one of those residential collector streets.
Donna, before we go to the next slide, can you expand on the testimony Mr. Trezulli gave? And I'm going to paraphrase, but what I wrote down is, the city cannot negotiate the compatibility with the parks master plan. Can you explain that a little more for council and perhaps the public's benefit?
Compatibility with the parks master plan. I'm not sure where he's going with that. So the parks master plan is a document that, I don't know if I have a parks master plan in here. In the staff review, you have a parks master plan. It shows all of the general locations of where the city anticipates parks to be located. The transportation, I'm going to just use 2 plans kind of side by side. The transportation plan identifies that in this street, we're going to build this street to this typical width. And that's where we're going to build it, because we know where the street's going to be. It's pretty much located there, and it's going to be built to a standard width. The parks master plan is a little bit more general in nature, and it identifies that somewhere in this location, we're going to place a park. Sometimes we know exactly where that place is
I
going
was
to
going to
be.
say, to be more specific, it's not that we're going to place a park, it's that there's a need for parks.
Thank you.
And the need for parks is specific to a quadrant of the city. In this case, it's the northeast quadrant. So I'll let you continue, but I just want to make sure that.
No, I appreciate that
it's,
wordsmithing. It's helpful.
If we're saying that there has to be, that's different than saying we desire there to be.
Yeah, and just to clarify my point, what I heard and what I'm afraid of the public hearing is that the city may have had an opportunity to leverage or negotiate for conditions as they relate to the park for this piece of land and chose not to. That's kind of what I heard, and it doesn't paint the city in a good light, and it's probably not exactly the way things work. Does that help?
No,
No,
and
it
I
didn't
think
help.
Sorry.
for further clarification, the intention of the statement was that our parks master plan is our parks master plan. It is the result of your comprehensive planning adopted by council, and then the master planning that is a result of that. Developers as a whole don't get to come in and negotiate what your master planning efforts have already resulted in. That's the whole point.
Right, and the city lacks the legal leverage to say you have to build a park or you
There's
have
only
to do this.
Correct. There's only certain very specific narrow opportunities to require land dedication, to require park improvements.
That's what I was getting at.
at their expense. It's also built into your impact fee study and the purpose of the collection of impact fees on these developments to help meet that park need in multiple different varieties from multiple different funding sources. But you have a narrow window of opportunity to require dedication and build out of park improvements.
That's what I was getting at. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that assure, can I continue?
Yeah, no, that was the point I was trying to make, is to let the public know the city is limited and can't just demand.
Well, can I add one thing?
Yeah,
So that boils down to this being an example of where we have no way of demanding or requiring a park.
Your staff has brought forward, with collaboration with this developer, a subdivision that meets all requirements, including the conversation of what you can ask them to do in a condition of approval to help meet the parks master plan of having a park in this quadrant. Potentially.
Potentially. Approve them. So no parcels, again, because we would like to preserve our collectors, our residential collectors, and our collectors free from too many conflict points. There are no primary or secondary access onto both Maple or to Miles. So all access points will be internal to those two streets. That's the only locations that will come out to Maple and Miles.
Donna, can I add just one more thing, just to make the record very clear?
Okay.
It doesn't negate the ability of the city to negotiate with the developer under a master development agreement for park improvements, but that's different than a condition of approval that is a mandate.
Or a standard of approval that has to be met.
Correct.
Okay. The seventh standard of approval talks about whether or not the proposed subdivision is or isn't zoned in the correct zone for what they're requesting. So the property is zoned residential single family. The minimum lot size in residential single family is 8250. As proposed, the minimum lot size is 8,700. They have a lot that's 8,776 square feet, but they also have a lot that is 17,781 square feet. You take an average of those lots across the way, you get an average lot size of a little over 11,000 square feet. So pretty good sized lots. All their setback minimums as required by city code, they didn't look for any exceptions. So their front setbacks and rear setbacks of the primary structure are 25 feet. Their side yard setbacks are 10 feet. Flanking streets are 15 feet. And then accessory structures are in accordance with code as well. Starting on page 12 of your staff review are the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. And I want to point out that these are goals and policies of the comprehensive plan at the time that the application was received 2 years ago. So it's important to note that piece. So these are goals and policies from our previous comprehensive plan, not the one that we adopted last fall.
which has 7 goals.
Yeah. So again, you know that Mr. Gizzuli talked about the maintaining and mixing with the community character and seeing how it would fit all together. Encourage land within the corporate limits of the city before annexed areas. Preserve and protect and strengthen the vitality of existing neighborhoods. Ensure that all development can be serviced by existing public facilities or extended to adequately serve the development. Ensure that park, recreation, and open space are provided and maintained for the continued enjoyment of the community. Adequately site those essential public facilities without compromising the neighborhood integrity and character. Protect, preserve, and be stewards of our environment's natural areas and resources while enhancing the quality of life. And again, coordinate that timely development of efficient, effective, and environmentally sound sewer, water, and other utility infrastructure, while ensuring that the development pays for itself. And then there are several policies, there's like 8 of them there. So again, you know, evaluate the opportunity to provide sewer and water and other services within the corporate limits. A development should be compatible with the land use chapter of the comprehensive plan. The city should evaluate community-wide impacts from the development. improve pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular safety along city streets. The growth should be accompanied by the development of infrastructure, public services, utilities, preservation of open space and recreational facilities within the city's means. Coordinate and support local water and irrigation districts in efforts to balance growth with available water supplies and infrastructure. And ensure those public services and facilities and utilities are adequate. And then minimize financial and operational impacts from road improvement projects and maintenance. And then 8 says all on-site and off-site improvement shall be required of the developer. Extension of infrastructure per the adopted city code standards and plans mitigating improvements as required. So as you've heard from the developer and the team, that they are intending on doing that extension of the sewer infrastructure to the north and following the conditions of approval for that continuity of the connections between the subdivision and the future park. And these extensions have to be per the adopted city code standards and plans. So noticing, Fonda, can you, or Lisa, can you hand them the fire department? So the fire department did provide a letter like yesterday or today. And it was not included in your packets, but it is a matter of part of the record.
Thank you, Fonda.
So the agencies, of the 24 agencies that we sent notices to, we received back comments from 6 of them. The first 5 are starting in your staff analysis on page 13. Panhandle Health District just identified that they'd need to have an application and fees paid before the final plat. Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, in their first sentence of their letter, identified they didn't have concerns at this point in time, but they did provide additional information and statistics regarding their resources that they have available. Avondale Irrigation District didn't have any additional comments beyond their will serve letter. Idaho Fish and Game didn't have any comments to submit for this application. The Coeur d'Alene Airport requested a navigation easement to be completed and recorded and identified on the plat. And then the comments regarding construction and response time from the fire department that you have before you. There were no additional public comments beyond those that you've received in your board book related to this request from a written comment perspective. Sometimes we have a little bit of a lapse between the week that I write, a week ago when we write the memo that goes in your council packets and today, and I always try to bring those forward, so there aren't any. And then I've summarized the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommended conditions of approval here, and they are really just big summaries. So dedications and easements need to be on the plat, and if there are any joint stormwater, those also need to be addressed on the plat. Permits from outside agencies need to be addressed, whether it's the Coeur d'Alene Airport, Avondale Irrigation District, Idaho Department of Environmental Quality or Water Resources, Northern Lakes Fire Protection District, or Panhandle Health. The approval runs with the land. A lot shall be accessed from those internal roads in the subdivision. Construction plan requirements. The construction plan submittal shall include those requirements in Hayden City Code 12.6. And more specifically, those local street sections that we've talked about. Erosion control measures shall be addressed in the BMPs, with BMPs. There isn't any cross-country sewer, so it all has to run in the streets and in accordance with the adopted sewer master plan. And the U.S. Postal Service mailbox locations shall be identified. We also require that the post office actually sends us an email or a letter that says they're good to go with those locations. Whenever you move dirt around, you pick up all of the grass, it tends to like to blow. So we have everybody put a dryland grass mix applied on everything that's been disturbed until such point as it actually gets a house built on it to mitigate all that dust blowing. Street frontage landscaping shall be included with the landscaping plan with the actual street tree placement to be completed at the time of building permit. So on those lots that are loaded, they have frontages on both the internal street as well as either on Maple or Miles. They have street tree requirements on both their internal facing street as well as Maple and Miles. So they have trees on both sides that they have to do. All public right-of-way shall either be dedicated on the plat or by separate document at the time of the final plat. And again, all utility easements, they either need to be on the plat or they need to by separate document and recorded with the plat. Making sure that everybody can follow that. Northern Lakes Fire Protection District, that the requirements identified in their letter must be met with the construction plan and/or building permits. And that navigation easement, again, that's a document that we give them very early on as a template. We send them to the airport. They work with the airport, they get it recorded, and they reference it on the plat. And then Planning and Zoning Commission, they added 2 additional requirements. The first one was that connectivity to future parkland, because we like to have our parks connected to each other and to schools where that's applicable, not in this case, but parks are. And we have the request from the Historic Commission for that historical interpretive signage that you heard Mr. Tuzuli talk about before. And then there had been possibly some discussion that you've heard here about that condition number 11 and whether or not the council would want to potentially redraft that or amend that condition for that connectivity. So I've left kind of a placeholder here. Staff had worked through a variety of kind of renditions, but anyway, should the council choose to amend that, this is a placeholder for that. And then the motions to approve or to continue or to deny. I stand for questions.
David, any questions for Donna?
Yes. On the future land use map, I see that the west portion of this area would fall under mixed residential. Can you remind me off the top of your head, the lot size requirement for mixed residential?
A bunch, I don't know that off the top of my head. It's like 7,000 square
Yeah.
feet for
Well,
a single family
Yeah,
detached house, but I mean, I was
That'd be
getting.
zoning.
no,
Not your future land use map.
I know.
Right.
I bring that up for a point. So this falls under the 2035 comprehensive plan.
If under the 2040, yeah, not
Yeah,
2045.
and what I'm looking at is the 2040 comprehensive plan. The point being, what's being proposed, the average lot sizes are over 11,000 square feet. And potentially, if this area were to be developed in the future and not now, a developer could come along and have the whole west side of that project be mixed residential with higher density,
Only
potentially.
if he went through a zone map amendment to get him there. But currently, the whole property is on single-family residential.
My point being, I'm bringing this up to say what's being presented is not pushing the boundaries, pushing the limits of what is technically allowed. And if this fell through and something were proposed in the future, it could end up being even denser, potentially. So I just wanted to bring up the fact, it's not so much a question, more of a point I just wanted to make, that what's being proposed is more generous than what potentially could have happened if it were to take place in the future. I just thought that's something for us to all consider when we're evaluating this.
Can I just make one clarification for council as well? Your questions to staff at this point need to be just questions, not any points of deliberation, because you've not held your public hearing yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Donna?
No.
All right.
I have a question just to clarify the record. I know Mr. Tazuli said he was not aware that we had 5 deputies. And I just want to make sure that the new contract that we've entered in with Cooney County, I'm asking the question, Donna, you are aware, and will that be part of our record, that that contract does exist? And it is public, it's in the public domain.
The contract is a public record.
And does that mean it can be entered into the record for this hearing?
It would not be entered into the record for this hearing, but it is a public record. The contract itself identifies 5 deputies have been assigned to the city of Hayden.
Okay, but without it being entered into the record here, it's not something that cannot be considered.
It is, yes, you can, what you haven't seen is any connection between 5 deputies and an inability to provide service because of this development.
You know, my point is that there was a letter here that's antiquated that said we had 10 deputies, but now we have 5. And I just wanted in the record that we only have 5. That's,
It'll be in the minutes of the
It'll be in the
record.
minutes.
okay, that's all I'm looking for. Thank you.
Ed, anything to add?
Nope.
Matt, you good?
Yep, thank you.
Donna, thank you.
What slide would you like me to leave up for the public hearing? Is it this one?
Sure.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go into the public hearing. I have 2 public hearing comment forms, so if anybody wants to give testimony and you haven't given us a card, now would be the time to do it. There is a form filled out on behalf of a Jeremy Voller, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, of Post Falls. He does not wish to speak, but is in favor of the proposal.
Mr. Mayor, I think we have one more that's going to be filling out the back, so I'm not sure what he's.
All right, I will wait then because we do these in a specific order for, against, or neutral. So until I know what our new card is, I'll stand by. Or stand fast. What does the Army say?
Stand down.
Wait a sec, Sarge.
Stand fast is a aquatic, maritime term.
Thank you, Donna. All right, so looks like Matt Sullivan wishes to speak, is neutral on the proposal. So if you want to take the podium, state your name and tell us the city you live in and provide your comments, please, or ask your questions.
Well, I'm not super familiar with all of this procedural stuff, but my name is Matt Sullivan. I live on Melrose Avenue, which is just between the subdivision and the proposed park, just south of that access way right there. And I will say that this is a good development for Hayden. As much as being in the city, I don't like to see it change. I like to see the field. What Ryan has done with the land is good, I think. In terms of lot size, quality of houses that are gonna go on it. We need more housing here, and this could have been done in a lot different way. It would have been worse off. I do see in the middle of this development, that island here, those 6 lots. My only comment would be that, yeah, while I don't want to see in the future land use map that McMahon's property by the townhomes become even higher density, as you'd mentioned, potentially in the future. It seems like it makes more sense to put a park right in the middle of this development on either 3 of those lots in that island or on all 6 of them. And it seems like the city could potentially, I don't know what they've got McMahon's property and Shoulder's property tied up for in terms of price, but it seems like something could be potentially worked out with Ryan and his team to put the park right inside that development. Now, I'm not opposed to it being a park between the townhomes and my property. Better than more townhomes being right up against, across the street from me. But just from a common sense look at this development, my comments being a neighbor there, would be buy a couple lots from Ryan. The city could buy a couple lots from Ryan there. Give him a good deal. I think he's doing a good job, the way that he's designed this place. Give him a pretty sweet offer on a couple lots in there, and that makes a heck of a lot more sense for a park, in my opinion. So, just something to chew on. I know I said I'm neutral on this development, but pretty much for it in terms of the way that he's gone about it, the quality of the houses, and what it's gonna bring to Hayden. Yeah, something to chew on,
Thank you, Matt.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have, it's either Laurel or Lonell Cardenas. Laurel, thank you. As she wishes to speak, she is against this proposal. Oh, and thank you, Abby, and I guess you're going to speak for a group of people.
Yes, please.
So you are allowed up to 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Laurel Cardenas. My husband and I live on North Maple Street, directly across from this proposed development. And first, let me thank you for this opportunity to speak before you this evening regarding the proposed Sycamore Valley subdivision. I mentioned to Abby, and I've spoken previously on this at the Planning and Zoning meeting, that I'm aware of a homeowner that I feel, that I believe there's a violation of the Hayden Code requiring at least 15 days written notice to be provided to homeowners within 300 feet of the proposed development. I'm aware of at least one homeowner who has yet to be notified by mail. She and her husband do not reside in that property, so written notification is imperative, as she would not see the public posting on the property. I have a notarized statement from her affirming that she has not been notified for this meeting as well as the planning and zoning meeting. And I was wondering if we could address that, please, before I move into, it's my understanding that there may have been some discussions that probably the public wasn't privy to after the planning and zoning meeting. At that time, I did not have a notarized statement from her. I do at this time.
The requirement of Idaho Code isn't proof of receipt, it's proof of mailing. The address was verified through the title company by staff, and the notice was mailed pursuant to Idaho Code.
It's also published.
It's also published, yes.
Yes,
And posted.
I understand in the procedures 12-3-4-5, it says a list prepared by a title company licensed to do business. I'm just wondering why she wouldn't have received it when she gets all of her, she's on the assessor's roll, she gets all of her property tax statements. This is the only thing it appears that she's not receiving.
Can't answer that.
So our process is give us testimony, and then
Okay.
if the applicant desires to, they can address these things, or at deliberation, council can ask our staff or our legal counsel.
Sure, I'd love
I don't
to
wanna-
include,
Yeah, I don't want to bind your time.
yeah, certainly. I would love to include a copy of her statement
Okay.
in there, if that would be okay. Okay, my husband and I have owned our home on Maple Street for several years and are happy to call ourselves Hayden residents. The proposed Sycamore Valley subdivision is concerning to us, and I'm here to speak against its approval at this time. The property in question currently has 3 homes and many acres of open space. The Sycamore Valley proposal adds 37 homes to one existing home, totaling 38 homes on 13 acres. This is more than 12 times the current density of this property. This is a very significant increase to an already established existing neighborhood. The property where this home lies is in the heart of an already established Hayden community with one home going back more than 100 years. This parcel of land has been open space for more than 100 years, and to allow a developer to come in and so significantly increase the density with no current allowances for open space is disheartening. Additionally, this development doesn't appear to include any open space or provisions for parks. quoting Hayden City Standards for Approval 3F, provisions have been made for parks and open space that are consistent with the adopted Parks Master Plan as amended, and that satisfy the city's requirement. I am aware of what was discussed this evening and the recent compromise where the city council approved the purchase of a small, approximately 2-acre piece of property to the west of this proposed development. And while I appreciate that this effort was made, I worry about approving this development in advance of any kind of actual park space finalization and the timing associated with that. This development could begin immediately. When and if will there be a park? The engineer for this project quoted a goal that the city of Hayden has adopted in the 2040 comprehensive plan with regards to allowing development within the city prior to considering annexation of other lands. I would like to quote another equally important goal included in that plan. Goal number 5, preserve, protect, and strengthen the vitality of existing neighborhoods. That's what we're asking for here, preservation of open space. Any new developments being added to an already established neighborhood should be consistent with existing homes. Our neighborhood is made up of primarily single-story homes with a basement. The homes to be constructed in this new development will most likely be, based on previous developments, 2-story homes as much as 45 feet high. These homes will tower over our existing homes in the neighborhood and block any views previously enjoyed by residents, especially those on Dana Court who will have houses built directly behind them. This will do nothing to preserve the atmosphere and feeling of our established neighborhood and could negatively affect our home values. This really doesn't feel consistent with preserving, protecting, and strengthening the vitality of an already existing neighborhood. When developers choose to purchase property in an already established neighborhood, they should expect and be mindful of existing homeowners' concern. Another major concern for myself and numerous neighbors is an increase in traffic on both Maple Street and Miles. I believe the application submitted for Sycamore Valley primarily addresses traffic within the development and does not fully address the added traffic to surrounding streets, especially Maple Street. The city of Hayden's past approval of multiple developments north of our location, including Hayden Canyon, have only increased the difficulty for nearby residents to access arterials such as Government Way traveling south. With no lights to safely access government at Buckles, Wyoming, Lacey, or Miles, many residents instead travel south on Maple Street, at least to Hayden Avenue or even to Honeysuckle to access Government Way at a traffic signal. Since almost all businesses and services are located south of our location, significant numbers of residents use Maple Street as an alternative to government. I certainly don't blame them, as it's the safest alternative to trying to cross northbound traffic on Government Way, which is extremely busy during most times of the day. I believe that the city council and most city staff are probably unaware of the significant number of residents who currently access businesses and services via Maple Street. Adding further development without attention to appropriate access of major streets and arterials, such as Government Way, is irresponsible and a burden to current residents. I asked the city on a couple of occasions to ensure that a traffic impact study be performed and included in this development's proposal, but was told that it didn't meet the criteria where it would be required. I still feel very strongly that it should be performed, even if not required, prior to approving this development. Included in the application was a response from the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, which stated that increased housing densities will have an impact on law enforcement response. We already live in a city with far fewer law enforcement officers per 1,000 residents than any of our neighboring cities. Adding new homes only increases the congestion and law enforcement response times for our city residents. Finally, because Kulka Land LLC develops only the land and the lots, then sells the development to a builder, or in some cases, multiple builders, residents may be forced to deal with ongoing construction for multiple years. This is a great burden and significant nuisance to the existing neighborhood. Any construction is problematic, but to have it go on for years is especially so. I've spoken to many neighbors regarding this development, and they're overwhelmingly against it, especially at the proposed density. The loss of this historic property and the open space it provides is felt deeply by all of our neighbors, and even significantly beyond our surrounding area. While I understand that the City Council has limited abilities to deny a property owner's request to develop their own land, I am asking that some due diligence be put into practice prior to signing off on this proposal. Please help ensure the safety of nearby residents by insisting on a traffic impact analysis. And I added, which may be moot, but please insist that the proposal not be voted on until all notification laws are assured that homeowners have been properly notified. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Okay, anyone else want to provide testimony? Once, twice, thrice? All right, the applicant, if he elects or they elect, may offer rebuttal against anything that the staff or public testimony has provided.
Once again, Jeremy Terzulli, thank you for the opportunity to rebut some of those statements. First and foremost, the sheriff thing was brought up again, and I think it should be noted that this development will bring additional tax revenue, which can be applied towards the city's ability to hire more deputies if they feel that that would be prudent. It's just, I think it's noteworthy that these will be some higher end homes in here, and they will create additional tax revenue to help the city perhaps navigate acquiring some additional deputies and perhaps maybe even their own police force at some point in time. So I just think that's noteworthy. With regard to the noticing, this was brought up at planning and zoning again. What I can say is we're not responsible for the noticing. We're responsible for compiling the list. We're responsible for working with a reputable and licensed title company. We give all the mailing labels in duplicate to the city. They put the noticing in there, they send it, they publish it in the newspaper, they post it on site. And what I can say is, once again, I do this sort of work all around our county. We have had hearings with the city of Hayden. We've been told that they're not 100% sure. They're right on that cusp of the 15 days, and out of an abundance of caution, let's just go ahead and push this to the next meeting so that we don't have this issue come up. The point I'm making is, of all the municipalities I work in, Hayden is the most stringent to make sure that the noticing has been met. I'm not responsible for stuffing envelopes and making sure those people receive them. I know that they are incredibly diligent when doing that. That's what I do know. Once again, with regard to the parks, we've done, I believe my team has gone above and beyond in working with the city to try to satisfy the Parks Master Plan. The point I was trying to make, Mr. Mayor, was how we are in conformity with that is not up to me. All I can say is we've moved forward. We paused our public hearing in November to try to work with the city to navigate what their desire was with regard to parkland, and this is where we landed. We've been an open book with them. All of it's a matter of public record. It's not back channeling. It's Zoom meetings. It's emails with city staff. It's conference calls as we worked through how we were going to satisfy that requirement, and it would appear they landed and felt what was in the best interest of the city was to acquire the McMahon property and put a park there, and then work with us on connecting to that park. So I wasn't trying to indicate that there was any strong arming by the city or saying you have to meet this requirement or you are going to be up against denial. None of that ever happened. We were all just bouncing ideas back and forth. And I know everybody on this council has their own opinions about parks. Some of you like them a little more than others, and so the point I was trying to make is that's sort of for you guys to decide whether or not we've met that requirement. Once again, this slide, the slide that I provided, I think shows, and to Donna's point, these neighborhoods that are all on, 8 to 12,000 square foot lots, which is what we're proposing, have been here for decades. We are incredibly consistent with the neighborhood context. And then back to traffic as a final point. I'm not a traffic engineer. Allow me to preface this next statement by saying I am not a traffic engineer. However, I work with many local engineering firms. I have worked with traffic engineers. For other projects, we have performed traffic studies. Sometimes it's just a trip generation letter, and sometimes it's a full-blown TIA where they put the little counters on the road and they do a whole compiling all the data, analyze the data. The way the Hayden Master Transportation Plan is drafted is it looks at infill opportunities like this. It applies the underlying zoning, which is R1, and it takes the max density, which is 4 units per acre. And then it puts that traffic load on intersections around and says, current conditions, conditions if this property is developed, conditions at full build out. And then it starts to grade those intersections based on full build out. The point is, max density on this property would be 4 units per acre. We're proposing 2.92. So even if you were to put a requirement of a traffic study, I would believe that your city engineer would simply interpret the data and a trip generation letter and corroborate the fact that it does not push any of these intersections to level of failure. A trip generation letter is, it's not going to provide any evidence that isn't already in your traffic master transportation plan, is the point I'm trying to make here. That's all I have for right now. What we have is an R1 development on R1 dirt, already in city limits. We believe that we have met every standard of approval. We respectfully request approval, and we're okay with the conditions. Thank you very much.
Jeremy.
Can we ask any more questions?
No, because we can't introduce any new evidence. This is a rebuttal, correct? Okay. All right, at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to ask council if you want to proceed with deliberations or schedule deliberations to a later day.
Mr. Mayor, back up.
Yes.
Did you want to ask the applicant a question during rebuttal?
Yes.
Yes, you may do that.
Oh, I apologize.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeremy, you talked about, get back up there. Thank you, Jeremy, for being a nice guy and
Yeah,
working with us.
what you can't do is introduce any new evidence or ask questions about anything that's not been presented.
Yeah, you mentioned analyzing the intersection of Maple and Miles, that a trip generation letter would show that everything's okay. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay, what is that intersection rated currently?
I don't even think it got a rating on the last transportation plan. They tend to focus on some more of the major intersections where minor and major collectors hit arterials, because that's where the congestion tends to happen. I don't think it got a rating on I'm going off of memory, but I don't think it had a rating. It's a 4-way stop, and I don't think it got a level of service rating.
Do you think it's important to have that intersection rated? To know where we are and then what impact a trip generation letter would have on that? Because if we don't know where it is now, how can we anticipate what will happen with the load of increased traffic?
The trip generation letter is actually pretty simple, and in Olson's office and Ryan's office, they do them quite often, and Dulcie and Alan are very familiar with what they look like, and that's why no trip generation letter was even requested for this project. They took the 37 proposed lots, the 2 points of ingress, egress, then you take the street that's headed due south and going to hit Miles, and you make an assumption, how many trips are going to go east and how many are going to go west. And you do the same on the one that comes out on Maple. They ran that quick analysis at time of application and felt that it was in conformance with the adopted master transportation plan, and no additional studies would provide any evidence. The only reason you do a traffic impact analysis or a trip generation letter is if you feel that intersection is at a tipping point and you might want to put in a turn pocket, or you might want to signalize that intersection. They looked at this, did a quick analysis, and felt the number of trips that were going to move to that four-way stop would not lead to any requirements on the developer to add turn pockets or make improvements to that intersection beyond improving the right-of-way. That's how we arrived here.
But still going back to my point, no one has evaluated that intersection. We don't know how it's rated.
Yeah, I think you'll want to ask your staff that question.
Okay.
Yeah, you just use the term tipping point and intersections at tipping points. And I know as I look at the map, and I don't know the actual distance of Government Way from this proposed development, but as I recollect watching the P&Z, that you made comments that you travel these roads a lot and you're very familiar with Maples, Miles, and the intersection there at Government Way. Especially at peak hours, would you consider the intersection of Government and Miles Way at a tipping point?
Personally, no. It's getting close.
But
But I happen to know in other developments, the fact that I own property there, there is a signal scheduled to go in there at some point in the very near future. They've identified that as to be a signalized intersection once funds are available. Personally, if I leave my property and head west on Miles and hit Government Way, and I look left and I look right, and it looks like it's going to be a conundrum for the next 2 or 3 minutes, I take a right, head north, take the next left on Dakota, go over to 95 and double back down. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and just keep looking left and right until I have the opportunity to go. I adapt, but that doesn't, I don't know how it applies to this project. The staff had an opportunity to analyze the number of vehicles and the trips per day that were going to be brought onto city streets due to full build out of this development. And at that point in time, they could have asked for a trip generation letter, which is the first step before you ask for a sort of a TIA light or a full-blown TIA. None of those items were requested by city staff. So we proceeded under the assumption that the traffic load produced by this development was not going to impact these intersections to the point where the developer would have to fix them before development. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Any more questions, guys?
All right, thank you, Chairman.
Okay, anything else? Thanks again.
All right, so we'll reclose the public hearing. Now I'll re-ask the question. If council wants to choose to proceed with deliberations or schedule them to a later date. Here and now.
I'd like to schedule this decision to a later date based on, I would like to have a transportation or trip generation letter done so we know, and give the staff a chance to rate the intersection of Miles and Maple so that we know where it's at now and what impact this development would have. I'm hearing Jeremy is telling us it's okay, but I just want to hear from our staff too. I think it's prudent that we hear from them. Also, another issue that I would like, why I want to delay this is I want a coordination with whatever the park, whatever agreement. I know that we cannot force the developer to do something about a park, but I'd like to have a solid plan in place for this park between the development and our proposed park as far as what that's going to be. What is the connectivity of it's going to be? Those are the two issues that I'd like to have resolved to move forward.
Matt, are there any questions that you can ask of staff tonight that would change your desire to delay?
Nope.
Okay. David, you get the tiebreaker.
To second what Matt was saying regarding the parks, do we have any sort of timeline on that process?
As far as the,
Escrow or,
yeah, I received a timeline back from the landowner's representative that suggested a closing as late as July, but it might happen sooner.
it might have already happened and I might have already been told, but has escrow been opened?
Yes.
Accepted offer and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
We would not be talking about it if that wasn't the case.
Yeah. So although I like business to be accomplished and move forward, I think it would be prudent to wait for a clear resolution on the escrow process. Because that will provide clarity on what the full picture of that development looks like in regards to parks.
I think what you're looking for is clarity on what the connectivity will look like, given
Yeah.
the development from planning and zoning until now.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's nothing that staff would provide you tonight that would change that perspective?
I'm not concerned about escrow falling through necessarily. I guess I'll pivot and say the other question I had is to the staff regarding a traffic analysis. If there's some details we might be missing as to why that was considered a resolved issue with traffic impact.
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
So our transportation master plan did assess the Miles and Maple intersection at the time that the data was collected in 2018. The level of service was an A at Miles and Maple. It did not rise to a failing level of service in the short-term or long-term model calibrations. And as Jeremy very eloquently said, this development is well below the model assumptions for infill development in this vicinity.
And Dulcie, for public's clarification, A is the best
That is correct.
grade that the intersection could get. Question.
And level of service.
And it was 2018.
The data was collected in 2018, that is correct. And the model projected, the short term is 2035, and long term is 2040. And this intersection was projected to be failing in either one of those scenarios.
Okay.
And that was to a build out of the density expectations? In 2035, is it the whole area was built out to 4 dwellings per acre?
It had a.
Or whatever the.
Sure, the growth assumptions under our policy was closer to 4%, which we never hit. In the city, we were much closer to 2% throughout the duration since this model was developed. So historically, the city of Hayden has not seen the global infill development that the model assumed.
So, Mr. Terzulli, to paraphrase, I guess, as I heard it, suggested that should a trip generation letter be requested, it's likely, and it sounds like what you're saying now, that it would demonstrate no need for.
So there are two deliverables that the developer could provide. A trip generation letter kind of evaluates what's coming in and what's coming out during those peak hours. The current city's policy is at 75 peak trips per hour or 200 trips per day. If one of those criteria is triggered under the trip generation letter, then a further analysis is required, which is the trip or transportation impact analysis. It's my opinion that this project would not trigger those qualifying events.
Thank you.
Well, also, I'm very familiar with this area. The majority of ingress and egress is going to be on that southwest entrance that has nothing to do with the Miles and Maples intersection. So,
Okay, so final answer.
Well, I'll just make one more comment. I'm one of those people that avoids government way at all costs. And I go up and down Maple all the time, and I brought it up as one of our priorities to possibly work on is to how to increase the safety along Miles, because we've got people walking sometimes in one lane some people are shaking their head here, yes. People are walking in the street. There are moms with strollers walking down on the road. Not just a few, but a lot. That road is used a lot. So this boils down to being concerned for the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens on a road that right now, in my opinion, is not that safe anyway. We get cars that park on that road and they're sticking out, and then when people are walking, I have to go all the way into the other lane because I'm not going to go right up next to them. So that Maple in my opinion, is not a safe road for pedestrians to be walking on. We're going to add more people to it, and I don't like that idea. So I want to know modeling, and I had to take modeling and at the University of Idaho with Fortran. It's a machine language. You look at modeling numbers.
That's old.
So I am old, okay? So I'll admit that. But anyway, modeling is only as good as you put in and out. We don't know. The only way to know what's happening now is to test now. And that's why I want a trip generation letter now. We need to see where we're at. And I'm concerned about the impact on the safety of Miles in general.
Donna, when you showed us the preliminary plat drawing, they included sidewalks on both Maple and Miles as long as the development?
Yes.
Okay, so just putting that out there for the public's clarity.
Curb gutter and sidewalk.
Any more questions for staff?
Well, not questions, but I guess comment here. See, it sounds like we're kind of in deliberations anyway.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want to accidentally trip in deliberation, so I want to go around one more time and ask.
So for clarity, the reason to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to deliberate or you're going to direct staff to gather more information is because if you direct staff to gather more information, you will reopen the public hearing for the entry of that information into the public record. The public would have a right to comment. It would be narrowed and limited to the park issue and the trip generation letter. So you the applicant has due process rights that mean you have to hear all of that additional evidence before you deliberate and make a final decision. So if you are leaning towards continuing your deliberations to a later date and reopening the public hearing, it is prudent not to deliberate now, but to allow the rest of that information to come into your public record before you deliberate.
So with that, I'll ask everybody, are you still in favor of delaying or deliberating tonight?
I want to postpone so that we would direct staff to look into those two issues as we've discussed.
Ed?
I agree as far as gathering the information and stuff with that. I'm just curious, is there what time frame we're looking at as far as any estimation of how long this gathering of information before this would come back would be?
Well, and you would have to meet all your noticing requirements again for a second public hearing,
We're probably looking at a month,
at least.
at least. I'm fine, I'm neutral about it, to be honest with you. I'm personally, I'm pretty sure I know what the trip generation's gonna come back saying.
Right.
But, go ahead.
David, what's your final thoughts?
I'm okay to deliberate right now.
Well, I can't break this tie, guys.
So I'll
There's no tie.
Yeah,
No
right,
time.
right. I'm being figurative.
So,
Well, I mean, here we go. We're let's be honest, we're deliberating about it right now. So, and again, like I said, I think my belief is that, sounds like, but the generation report, I'll bet you 99.9% it's gonna come back saying what was already expressed. So, in my opinion, we should go ahead and deliberate it.
Okay.
And express, there's other issues.
All right, so then go ahead, I'm going to step back. David, do you want to start deliberations, or Matt, would you like to start? Who would like to start?
well, I'd like to make a motion first.
I was going to say that's the most prudent thing to
Thank you.
All right.
I was reading your mind.
do. That's a scary
That's
thought.
scary. Oh, no, what is she thinking of me right now? My motion is that we postpone the decision and not deliberate tonight, and we postpone to another meeting to address the two issues of coordinating the park connection and also to deal with the transportation or trip generation letter, or look at that in more detail. Because that trip generation letter, and Ed, you may know, I don't know.
I'm not saying I know, but go ahead.
But I don't know. And so for those reasons, my motion is that we postpone. And for the ladies or people that did not get noticed on this, we'll have another hearing. This gives an opportunity for those people that were missed to make sure that they're also heard and they know about it.
Well,
So, all right, so that's his motion.
Wait, can I,
but because it sounds like that motion is made on false pretenses. I'd like to have more clarification
I was gonna-
as to the motion
I was gonna
process.
offer to synthesize what I think I heard in a way that you can agree or disagree or refine from there, but I had to postpone the decision to another meeting to receive additional information around trip generations and park connectivity. Those are the two issues you mentioned before, but in your initial motion, you didn't include that, so I wanted to make sure that was still part of your interest.
That's part of, yeah,
For
that,
clarity, the city has not violated any noticing process or proceedings pursuant to Idaho code.
Okay, does anyone want to make a second on the motion?
Does
Go ahead,
Councilman Roeder agree with that?
yes.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, so there's a second for discussion. So with that, is there discussion on the motion to be made?
I'll say I sympathize with every single person in this audience. I know this weighs heavily on us up here talking about this, and there's a lot of concerns. Matt, one of the things you brought up was, a concern for pedestrians walking on Maple. If whatever traffic analysis is done and it comes back, this proposal is already improving that road to make it safer for pedestrians to walk. So I don't understand what could be done. I mean, if it was left undeveloped, it's a more dangerous street to walk down because
Well,
of
but
the
you're adding more
unimproved
traffic, and
sidewalks.
you're only improving that one block of road. You're adding more traffic onto Maple, which is not being improved. So I would disagree with you.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Well, now I'm going to run down my notes here a little bit, and they're all over the place, so I'll try and arrange them.
Is this just in relation to
the motion.
Yep.
continuing this?
Yeah,
At a later
well,
date?
I don't know, you stop me if I.
I'm not going to censor you, Ed.
Well, that's censoring me, but, oh, you're off track, then I'll shut my mouth. Okay, the developers, all along, from what I've seen in this process, have been very cooperative and worked in good faith with the city. I think they are sincere in their concerns about the traffic impact, especially on Miles and Maple. The discussion about the sheriff and ability to provide levels of service, but that's not in the motion, is it? So I won't talk about that. A signal date has been brought up at Miles and Government Way. which is undetermined. I don't know if we get a guesstimation. Do we even have an idea of when that might occur?
We have a capital improvement plan that would show it on the next 3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
2030, hopefully.
Yeah.
For further
okay.
clarification, Ed, design is complete and we anticipate moving into the right-of-way acquisition phase of that project.
So we could be 3 to 4 years, based on the way, based on right-of-way acquisitions and stuff's gone. So, and my main concern, and it appears as though a trip generation report or even a traffic analysis cannot be applied, because that is my main concern. That intersection of Miles and Government Way, really, because it's gonna back up all the way. I don't say you're gonna get traffic backed up, but it is going to affect back into this intersection here. So that's my primary concern, is how do we mitigate that, what is already, with all due respect, an unsafe intersection with people who get frustrated, and instead of turning right, they jump out and try and go left. The next thing you know, you got a T-bone going on. Okay. Public comment regarding the traffic on Maple and Miles has been stated over and over and over that people are using Maple to avoid Government Way more and more and more. I think many people have expressed that they drive that a lot. Okay. And most people in this room and probably on this dais up here drive it a lot and are very familiar with what it's like to drive during the day and the night, okay? And even with the improvement of half of the roadway along their property lines, when you go past that to the north and past that to the south, it's very concerning about the safety aspect. The comment was made, it's irresponsible to not consider safety along Miles and Government Way, and the contribution, again, to that major intersection. So, again, with all due respect here, and I don't know it all, I'm not, Carmack, anybody wants to go back that far? All right, let me get my envelope here. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Remember Carmack? All right. Okay, I can't tell you, but my gut tells me after hearing and asking that a trip generation letter, the reality is it's going to come back saying that this development does not require traffic analysis, okay? And to be honest with you, and as Councilmember Erickson said, we all sympathize, if that's even the right, we know what it's like. How many of you out here live in that area? Okay, and as I said, we all know what's going on there. Things like property rights are talked about, okay, especially. And if you own that property, I can almost again guarantee you'd be singing a different song. Okay, that's just the reality. And this has been, it sounds like a couple of years in the process here with these developers. And now, again, I could be wrong, but it sounds like we're saying, okay, now we're going to push it out another month. And then we're going to have another hearing. And so on and so forth. To what I'm fairly certain is the inevitable, and we see it over and over and over when land use developments come up. The inevitable is that, number one, they have the right, they own the property. There were opportunities to purchase the property, okay, for whatever reasons, okay, this is who owns the property, and they are within the comp plan and all that. So if you ask me, the inevitable is that this development will be approved. And I struggle after hearing our staff, who I trust, they're the experts, okay? They do this all the time. And they've basically indicated that trip generation isn't going to change it, isn't going to do anything. So I guess that's my 2 cents as far as the motion.
Okay. Abby, would you reread the motion so that council members are aware of?
It's what Lisa said.
She said.
I have a motion on the table to table deliberations or postpone deliberations to a future meeting to receive information about park connection and park connectivity and transportation impacts.
Thank you. May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Erickson,
No.
Council President DePriest,
No.
Councilmember Roder.
Yes.
Okay, so looks like we're going to deliberate tonight and potentially reach a decision. So are there any other deliberations, since it sounds like everybody's pretty much given their 2 cents on this?
And Ed does not have to repeat what he just said.
Oh,
He
come
can
on.
use those same deliberations.
We're on the air. I get to go home and watch it.
And staff's been here since
Twice.
this morning.
Yeah, really.
So is there any other comments, questions for staff?
To piggyback on what Council President DePriest said, even if that traffic analysis is done, this development coming in provides a wider street and sidewalks. So I understand pedestrian safety was one of the concerns, but also, he also mentioned the main focus of congestion is on government and Miles. And that is already in line to be addressed. So, and that is outside of whether this development was coming in or not.
And this development will pay impact fees into your overall transportation.
Please, can we get the motion slide up, please?
So in regards to just
Thank you.
traffic concerns, the majority ingress egress is from government onto Miles. And for the neighborhood with pedestrians walking, this development's going to provide sidewalks for safer paths to and from the possible future park that the city's going to be putting in. We already addressed the notification for meetings. That was the main thing I wanted to highlight.
If council wishes to make a motion, I would ask that not only you follow the suggestion, but maybe address the 8 staff requirements, 2 agency requirements, 2 requirements from planning and zoning, including the one I think that was suggested to be modified. And please tie your motion, if you can comment a little on how, for the public record, the motion either does or does not comply with our Hayden City Code.
It's part of the motion, if they read it.
Right.
And their deliberations have done a pretty thorough job of that.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure is,
But I
wanna make
didn't
sure
know
we-
if you wanted to amend the current condition regarding park connectivity.
right.
Is that what was in the red on the presentation? That was an additional,
The one that was in red is the one that planning and zoning recommended, not one that you may edit from a council
Okay.
perspective. Did you want me to? pull
Well,
that one
and
up?
you
we're okay. We'll figure it out, as I'm sure. as
All
we-
right. I'll sit
You
back down
can
again.
simply just add that the
You guys will
condition,
prompt us along.
the condition reflect that the developer work with staff to provide connectivity to the park.
That's good. That says right there.
And is it allowable for council to get more specific than that, to have it not just be the sidewalk that's tentatively being put on the Miles?
I think it's too early to really talk about what the details of that are gonna look like until they provide a concept and we have a better understanding of how that connectivity is gonna work.
Okay, thank you. So with that, does anyone on council want to make a motion?
Sure. Again, you can, the inevitable, all right. I move to approve PZ&E 25-0080 Sycamore Valley subdivision preliminary plat request of PZC, recommended conditions of approval as amended, finding the request is in accord with the standards of Hayden City Code based upon testimony received at the City Council public hearing and the record request, with consideration for park connectivity as discussed.
Would you,
Is that close enough?
personally feel like if we don't put down who is accepting it to the satisfaction of whom, then we leave it sort of,
To the satisfaction of the city.
okay,
Park up with the,
that's
Well-
fine if you want to leave it that broad. I just was saying, to the satisfaction of the city council, to the satisfaction of staff, who do you want to,
oh, the satisfaction of city council.
okay, that's what I was going to recommend.
Okay, thank you. Really?
All right, there's a motion. Does somebody want to offer a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion being made? May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Roder,
No.
Councilmember Erickson,
Yes.
Council President DePriest.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to call for a quick recess. I need to move my legs a little bit and allow for anybody, if they want to leave, following this before we move on to item 5A. So let's reconvene at like 7:15, please. All right, we're resuming our meeting. Our next item of business is an action item. This is Viking Construction's request for reconsideration hearing of the appeal of staff determination for extraordinary impact analysis. As council remembers, they listened to Viking Construction's appeal to the city. This agenda item is not to reconsider that appeal, but simply to make a decision that at a future date, council would hear Viking Construction's request to appeal.
A reconsideration of your previous appeal decision.
Thank you. Much more succinct. So that's the agenda item, council. So what are your thoughts?
I'll start.
Go ahead, Ed.
But as a pursuant to Hayden City Code, looks like 1-1-6 says the city council may reconsider its decision only if it finds any of the following. There was a clerical error in the decision. The decision resulted from fraud or mistake. There is new evidence for the record or a change in the circumstances. There was a procedural error. The council previously rejected the application by a tie vote, or the decision was made in violation of substantive law. And I don't believe any of those have been demonstrated, at least to my knowledge, so it's pretty simple.
Okay, and Fonda, is there anything else that council should consider, or is literally that's the criteria
That
for?
is the criteria as outlined in the staff report.
Okay. Okay.
Done, yep.
And Ed, so as it, just for the record, for those 6 items, do you feel any of those items were met
No,
or
that's
that
just,
we encroached?
to my knowledge, I don't believe any of those have been met.
Okay, and David?
I would agree with what Council President Dupree said.
Matt?
Agree.
Okay, anybody like to make a motion then?
Sure.
Oh, before we do, Fonda, would you please just, again, for public and council, if council says no, they're not going to reconsider it, the next step would be?
The applicant has the right to request a regulatory takings analysis, which in fact, they've already submitted to the city that we've notified them is on stay until there was a decision regarding reconsideration. If they also may file a petition for judicial review with the district court.
Okay, so is there any, from a legal perspective, any advantage for the council to entertain this request?
I don't see any of the elements either being met, but that's for you to decide. I
Yep.
think we have a robust record to rely on, both
That-
in the regulatory takings claim as well as a petition for judicial review.
That's what I was looking, thank you, that's what I was looking for the record. Okay, anybody on council want to make a motion?
I'll do it.
Okay.
A motion to deny setting a reconsideration request at a future council meeting.
Second.
Is that,
Request hearing, it's fine.
okay, they don't have to, okay. Any discussion on the motion? And maybe we get a roll call vote, please.
Council President Dupree?
Yes.
Councilmember Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson?
Yes.
Okay, moving on, we're going to, Alan, I believe, is going to present a Public Works Initiative overview.
I gave some paperwork to Abby.
Pavement cut. Oh, they're different.
Different.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, I just want to kind of bring you up to date on some of the stuff that's happening in Public Works, and some of it's been recently completed, some of it's coming up, and just to kind of keep you up to date on some of the things that are happening, see that you're going to see happening out there in public. So I want to kind of go over some construction projects that are going to happen, hopefully happen this summer. 2 of them I know are, the 3rd one we'll talk about. Talk about the Community Health Academy funds that we received for our participation, what the project might look like or will look like, and what we're proposing on that. Also, I want to go over to, and I don't know if you guys have seen any of them yet, but the Welcome to Hayden signs, that 2 of them went up on the highway yesterday, and 1 went up on 4th Street last week. And then introduction to the city of proposed street cut policy and updating on when that hearing is, and also we already updated you on the public hearing, on the street cut, excuse me, on the parking enforcement, which was the towing deal, right? And so I just kind of want to go over that real quick, just to keep you up to date on where that's at. So as far as construction projects, we're going to have our 2026 street and parking lot maintenance projects, which the first one will be a chip seal project. The bids were open today. They were favorable. So we'll be going through that and awarding that at the next council meeting, hopefully. And then that construction will typically takes place in late June, because when the weather's a little bit warmer. The majority of that work is on the other side of 95, kind of the north quadrant where we had all the construction last 2 years, to where we really couldn't do any work over there because we had to have some roads open to allow people to get back and forth to their house. And if we'd have closed them down for chip sealing, they'd have really been in trouble. So with the favorable bids, we'll also be looking at some other opportunity projects, maybe some parking lot stuff that we haven't quite put together yet. We have a lot of parking lots for our parks and stuff that are getting in a condition that needs some attention. The second project that I want to bring to your attention, to the public's attention, as well, is the Ramsey Honeysuckle Roundabout. The bids opened on the 22nd. Again, we got very favorable bids, so we'll be bringing. We got to take that first to Harbs because they're part of the project, and I'm sure that will go over favorably because the numbers are good. And then we'll bring that back on the 12th for the city to award that project as well. And then that construction could easily take place by probably late May. Late May, by probably as early as this. That's going to be a pretty big project. The intersection will be shut down at Honeysuckle and Ramsey for the majority of that. There'll be detours around that, and it'll be yes.
6 weeks from now, late May? Is that what you're saying, 4 weeks?
It'll start.
All right.
I'm sure. Unless there's a reason for the contractor wants to delay it for some reason, because he has till like the end of September to get it paved.
That was my next anticipated completion, end of September. Is that what you
We'll
said?
get a schedule from him, and I'll have a lot better information on that once we award it. He's under no obligation to do any more work than he's already done until he knows he's got the work is in his court. He has till the end of August to complete it, so he could say, I'm gonna hold off till July and do it then, or he might want to get started and get it out, depending on what he's got going on. So, but it could start as soon as June, first part of June. The other project I wanted to talk about is the Hayden Atlas widening for a temporary signal. We have concept plans that we can take out and get bids for widening that to make a left turn lane on Hayden Avenue at that intersection, and also one left turn lane on Atlas. And then we would proceed with putting in a temporary signal. I don't know if we get everything done this summer. We still have few things we got to tie up on that intersection to be able to do that widening, some little land issues. So if those move forward, which I'm hoping they will, we'll hopefully get that done this summer too. But that's going to be probably after the 4th of July at best. So I just kind of want to let you know those are things that are going to come up, and you're going to hear about it in public, especially the roundabout, because the road closure in proximity to Walmart and Ramsey Road and all of that. It'll be a disruption to the public. This is our Community Health Academy projects. We're talking about putting in the random rapid flash and beacon crossings on Government Way here. We have a lot of traffic here getting across. That intersection the road can be really difficult. There's 3 locations that we looked at that have some pretty high pedestrian traffic. One is down by the library in Peak Fitness. We have a bus stop there. We have traffic going both sides of that road, and we actually have a crosswalk right there. So we'd like to put those beacons in there to help the pedestrians get across. These projects are supposed to support pedestrian transportation issues. So that's, yes, Mayor.
Great idea. I thought the plan, though, was we were going to improve walking from Government along Honeysuckle down towards the circle.
We looked at that, and the feasibility of doing that with the funding that we've got is a bigger project. And then the corridor study that the council is talking about potentially doing down that road, I think could impact what happens there. So when looking at those things that might be coming up, may make other opportunities that wouldn't fit with what we did. Staff kind of looked at that and said, is this a good funding, good spend of this money? And we know this is going to be something that will always be utilized. So this is kind of where we landed on that.
Okay.
The other one's right here across City Hall. So we call this the Amber Crossing. She goes across there like 3 times a day for stuff, and I don't know.
No, it's smart. It's smart, Alan.
And then
It's a good use of the dollars.
we're looking at, we may have to come up with a little bit of fundings, which may not be that bad because of the chip seal project. If we can, we want to put a third one at Zips down there. There's a little strip mall there, and there's other things happening there, and that crossing gets a lot of traffic down there. It's a little more challenging because of the sidewalk configuration stuff, but we're looking into that. So the first 2, library and the City Hall for sure, hopefully it Zips as well. And we're working on that right now. We have quotes and we'll move forward.
I think it's about 25K is what we have to play with.
20.
20.
Well, we also have the money that was earned from the walk challenges that happened.
Oh, the Ed did for us.
Anyways, I guess what I wanted to just reiterate to address the question that was brought up about picking this over a different one. This was presented to council during the priority setting session, and it was listed on there, and you can look at the summary of the report of that I provided in my report that shows it as a medium priority. So it wasn't just a pivot, it was a planned discussion that we had with council, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so, and then the Welcome to Hayden signs, like I just briefly said, these are brand new signs. That one, it took the place of one that was, actually had fallen down this year. And so the guys got that up about 2 weeks ago. And then we had to wait for a little bit better weather, and we have certain conditions we have to do with ITD to get in there right away and put signs in. So we also installed this same sign on 95 for southbound traffic, just south of Lancaster, kind of by the Lancaster Mini Mart or whatever that's called, gas station, right there on 95. And then also right at Aqua for the northbound traffic, right when you enter the city right there. We used to have a sign up that was allowed there by one of the owners, property owners in the city, and it became a political issue. And so we replaced it with this in the state's highways right away, and so that will never happen again. So, and these signs are all up as of yesterday, so you can see those when you drive around town. So the other thing that in front of you, I put in proposed street cut policy. We want to bring this forth to the council for public hearing on the 12th. And so I urge you to take a look at it. Talk with staff, whatever we need, email, we can take a look at whatever your issues. But just to preference where this is coming from, a lot of these things the city has been sort of requiring, and it's difficult at times if we get pushed back because it's not well spelt out in our code today. This takes care of many of the problems we have. This was drafted kind of around, the main thing was a project that KCAT put together, and it was pushed by Avista, wanting to have a more uniform cut policy in the area so when they do their projects, they have a better idea what that cost will be for them to put these facilities in the ground and everything else. What they proposed was much better than what we were even doing. And so we kind of took that and said, we really like this. We beefed it up in places we thought it was short, and we made it a little more simpler, simplified it from some of the stuff. We looked at the city of Coeur d'Alene and the other ones around here, and it is pretty similar to theirs. It's simpler to basically to manage from the staff standpoint because we don't have the same kind of staff that some of these other agencies have. And so staff is kind of pretty excited about this policy. So what this would do is it would take a section out of the code that is kind of weak and replace it with a policy that's easier to manage, and then the code would refer to this policy.
And the policy, for clarification, then could be changed by resolution. It'll be adopted by resolution and changed by resolution, rather than code changes every single time you want to make an adjustment.
And just for clarity, Alan, cut is a technical term, which means?
Cutting the asphalt in the road, when we have any utilities go in the road, they cut the road. How we get that patch back and how we take care of that, for example, they may put a small patch right next to another small patch that was next to another small patch. This would say, no, you put a patch here and there's a patch within, I don't know what it is, and it's in here, 7 feet. You're gonna cut them all out and make one patch that's nice and clean for maintenance thing for the city. We have to, these patches are pretty high maintenance for the city. We have to go and crack seal the edges of those patches like every 2 to 3 years. And so if you have a whole bunch of them, you've got a lot more line mark work that you have to do than if you have one larger one. And so that reduces the amount of maintenance we have, and it improves the ride and the road and lengthens the deal of the road.
This patch material, is it gonna be this new stuff like I've been seeing lately?
No, this is for like asphalt patchbacks for actual cuts in the road to do some type of work under the surface. So if, let's say that there's a water valve that's down there that's not working, and they got to cut down there and fix the valve and put, or adjust it and stuff, and we got a big hole in the road, then they have to backfill it up, and then they have, this is how you're going to fix the surface so that it reduces our maintenance costs and improves the life of our road.
Right, okay.
And Alan, just so these guys are prepared for what's coming next, you're going to have a public hearing on these code changes.
Yes.
And are you expecting to have the ordinance at the same time, or can they work through any suggested changes, adopt them after the public hearing, and then bring the ordinance at a later date?
I think we were proposing to have the ordinance at the same time, but we can, I don't know, what did we advertise, Ty, do you remember?
We only had to advertise the ordinance.
Oh, okay, so we
You
advertised the ordinance.
But, okay. So if you guys have any suggested changes to code, it's really difficult to do it on the fly at the meeting. Please talk to staff ahead of time.
And in this one, you can see we attached to the first page here is to change the code. The policy is the next page back.
Correct.
I think that is. And then, of course, we'll also have the one for the parking, for the towing on that same date, I think. That is the end of my update. I told staff I'd keep it short for them. I know you guys, just keep going, so.
Thank you,
Any other
Alan.
questions?
Questions for Alan?
Nope.
Thank you, Alan.
Like the
Okay.
signs.
We're going to move on to city administrator report and calendar review.
Sorry, my computer went to sleep. So you'll notice that I did provide a relatively lengthy report this month, or this meeting, excuse me, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I felt that in light of the conversation at the last meeting about an update, respective of the prioritization chart that we worked through with council, you would start to see some accountability to that within the report. If you have any questions of that, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll just continue to try to report back, and then with the idea that sometime in June, we'll present maybe a full update of the prioritization list that we went through in, what was it, January, February timeframe. Happy to answer any questions. Just as a reminder to council, we have 2 special meetings this week. We get to meet with you 3 times. We're, triply excited for this. So the second one being Thursday from 1 to 4, where we're going to be talking about the strategic planning for fiscal year 27 budget. And then Friday from 11 to 1, we will be meeting with you and and HURA board to discuss project priorities between the 2 bodies. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Lisa? David?
No.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Are there any reports that council wants to make?
Sure.
Go ahead, Ed.
I don't know if it's a necessary report, but I received a phone call from Commissioner Matari last couple of days. I forget, what is this, Tuesday? So it was probably middle of last week. And summarize what he said. He basically said that he had all of his meetings with Motorola and the sheriff's department and such, and that he's done everything he can to facilitate the providing of the accountability reports that the city's been asking for, and that Motorola has indicated that the sheriff should be able to provide those reports, that other agencies do it, and that all it really requires is the training of the staff to provide the reports. And he indicated that he agrees that we should get those reports, but to quote, "It's now in the sheriff's hands." So I think that, I believe that, I don't know if we want to make it an agenda item or how we want to handle it, but I think we should address the sheriff and indicate that it's been indicated that he can provide us these reports, and to determine how we want to handle the contractual element of these reports and his willingness to provide them, I guess.
Any thoughts on that, David or Matt?
I was just going to add, I happened to connect with somebody who happens to work for Motorola just randomly. And he was explaining that Motorola just did a big training or some sort of analysis which would corroborate what the commissioner was saying, that there was some sort of, I don't know if it's training or audit or whatever Motorola was doing recently to make sure the systems are updated and working. So that's hopeful that if we now engage with the sheriff, that we can start getting the reports we want.
Matt, anything to add?
Yeah, one thought I'd have is, based on that conversation that Ed had with Commissioner Matari, I would like to have the city possibly, as a suggestion, memorialize the communication that Ed had with Matari to say that they have the ability to do the reports and they just have to train their people to do it.
Would Matari provide that to us in writing?
We'd have to ask him, I guess, yeah.
Why don't you ask him?
Yeah.
Or Ed, would you be able to email him just
Yeah,
for,
I'll email him,
and when he responds, that'll be the,
well, I think what I'll probably do is email him and say, council's had a discussion, and related to our discussion previously, can you please provide a more memorialization of the
A written
fact,
confirmation.
a confirmation, there we go, something to the effect of the information we spoke about, that the sheriff is able to do this with training of the employees or something to that effect.
We want to be careful tonight not to have a non-agendized discussion,
Yeah.
but that'll be supportive of your consultant getting the data that they need for their analysis as well.
I'm going to comment on this one, council. I want to ask you guys to consider that we don't put ourselves in a situation where we're chasing something that's not going to bear any fruit. The BOCC promised they would get us this information. They said they would work hard, and there is a possibility that in failing to do so, they just simply say, well, the sheriff can do it, and they throw it in his lap for us to follow. And I don't see us benefiting from the BOCC not delivering on their promise.
You lost me. That's because this.
BOCC doesn't have access to the data.
I understand that, but as I understand, and my memory is fallible as anybody's, my understanding is that a commissioner pounded the drum as hard as he could, how he was going to solve this problem and deliver for us. And my point is, in failing to do so, to simply say, well, it's the sheriff's fault, it doesn't pass my litmus test for what I think as a city we should be pursuing that information, I don't see any gain from it. We're just basically taking the bait, if you will.
So do you want me to ask Commissioner Matari to provide this confirmation or not?
If you're asking me personally, no, but I'm not, I obviously don't, the council is the body here that makes those decisions. I just don't see any, I don't see any good coming from this. I don't see any gain. I don't see where the city is going to benefit.
What, Mr. Mayor, because it seems to me that if the commissioner is offering information, we just want to verify it and then try to track down where the information could be found.
Yeah, maybe if the commissioner gives us a very specific set of instructions but something beyond just a claim is, again, we're spinning our wheels ever since that person has inserted himself into the process. Hayden has not benefited, and I just see this as a continuation of that pattern.
Okay, let me try and amend my request for a future agenda item that without requesting information from Commissioner Matari, that we again approach the sheriff expressing that we understand that Motorola has indicated that with training of their employees, they should be able to provide these reports. Something to that effect.
We could.
We can administratively do it too. We don't need an action.
That's exactly what was going through my mind
Okay.
is would council be good with Lisa just talking to Captain Smart and saying, we've got a claim and.
I'd be fine with that.
Well,
It's hearsay, I'm just saying.
well, I guess, without all this even happening, isn't the company that we've engaged and that we're contracted with, aren't they doing this already? Or aren't they supposed to be getting this reporting?
They're not addressing reporting requirements or accountability requirements. They're addressing level of service
They will
impacts.
need data for that, I think.
But my point being, with them trying to provide an analysis, they're going to have to get these reports anyways, right?
If they're available.
Well, but.
Are you
Mr.
saying
Mayor,
the consultant will answer the question because
Yes.
they'll be able to provide the reports
Because
that allegedly the sheriff has?
We
not?
won't have to go, we won't have to go muddying up the waters, which I know that's your concern.
Yes.
And if we allow the consultants to do what they've been tasked to do, we'll get our answer already, right?
Yeah, I just don't want to see us waste our time, and so far, a lot of the direction the county commissioners have put him in has been a waste of our time.
Well, I need to, again, go back on it. The night we signed the contract,
Again, you do not have an agendized discussion.
then we need it on the agenda because we're kicking the can down the road, okay? And basically, we're not gonna get the reports until, we're already headed into the next contract, basically, pretty quick here. And again, it's just been, they're bluffing. They aren't going to do anything if we don't provide them what we've contractually obligated to provide. And I think we need to say, in the contract, it says you will do this. You have the capability to do this. We want you to do this. And how we come about and getting there, I
I
guess,
think we can get there administratively based on.
please.
I just
Do
don't,
we need an
yeah.
agenda item is my question.
No, I don't
No,
know.
if you can do it, admit, then if the council,
Yeah.
but I would say yes.
Okay, any other requests for future agenda items?
No.
All right, so now we're going to move into executive session tentatively. Our next action item is to move into executive session in support of Idaho Code 742061F. Is there a motion?
Yeah, yes, I make the motion that we go into executive session based on Idaho Code 74-2061F.
Second.
A motion, a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Erickson?
Yes.
Council President DePriest?
Yes.
Councilmember Roder?
Yes.
Safe drive home, everyone. Staff, you're certainly welcome to